Welcome to Insomnia Archive. Tonight, we won't be drifting into castles or grand palaces. We won't be walking through gilded halls or wandering through the quiet streets of ancient cities. Tonight, we're going somewhere colder, stricter, stripped of comfort. We're stepping through the doors of a Victorian workhouse. You may have heard whispers of it before. The poorhouse, the place people went when their options left. A building often seen in the corners of Dickensian tailies, grey and ghost-like. But this is not a horror story. It's something quieter, slower, more intimate. This is the story of the people who lived inside those walls. People who didn't commit crimes. People who weren't villains, just poor, just unwanted, just tired. People like you. People like me. So tonight we'll walk alongside them, gently, calmly, not to judge, but to understand. Let the world outside quiet down. Let the lamp glow low, and let us begin. Have you ever been so tired you forget who you are? So cold that your bones start to feel hollow? So hungry that the idea of pride becomes irrelevant? That's what it felt like to arrive at the gates of a 19th century workhouse. You didn't go there to start over. You went because the world outside had already made its decision about you. There were no jobs, no relatives left who could take you in. Maybe your landlord finally got tired of waiting. Or your children stopped asking questions and just started crying. So you walked. Or were taken, and the door closed behind you. You were now inside the machine that claimed to be society's mercy, but mercy didn't feel like this. It began with the intake. There was a desk, a clerk with a pen. You gave your name, your age, your last address, if you had one, if you remembered it, your occupation, if you ever had one, your religion, whether you were a widow, a vagrant, a bastard, a child. And then the process began, the stripping down. You were told to remove your clothes, all of them. You were examined. Not kindly, more like someone inspecting meat at a market. You were bathed, not with warmth, but with haste, often in cold water, often scrubbed it by someone else. You were deloused, scrubbed red, as if your poverty could be peeled away with soap. Then came the buzz cut. Hair was removed, not just lice prevention. It was uniformity, stripping away vanity, individuality, dignity. Children cried. Women clenched their jaws. Men closed their eyes. When it was over, you were given your new uniform. Coarse wool, gray, shapeless, like the building itself. You looked just like everyone else. That was the point. And then came the worst part, the separation. Families were not kept together. Married couples were sent to different wings. Children were taken to separate dormitories. There were no promises about when or if you'd see each other again. If your child cried for you at night, you wouldn't hear it. If your husband fell ill, you wouldn't know. There were rules, firm and cold. Rules that said order mattered more than love. Even in death, you might not be buried together. You were now property of the system, the workhouse. A place designed not just to shelter, but to deter. To make poverty look and feel worse than the streets. Because the logic was simple, cruel, and widely accepted. If the workhouse was too kind, too bearable, people would stop trying. So it had to be unpleasant. It had to be humiliating. That was the point. Not just to feed you, but to break you. To make you obedient, quiet, and grateful. Even if you no longer remembered who you were. Even if the only thing you own now was your silence. The workhouse did not sleep. Even at night, when the lanterns burned low and the iron gates echoed with the click of finality, the silence inside was heavy with expectation, but the true weight of the workhouse came with the morning bell. Imagine this. You are woken not by sunlight, not by the smell of food or the warmth of a blanket, but by the sharp clanging of a handbell, rung before the sun has crested the rooftops. The cold has settled into your bones overnight. The wool blanket that scratched your skin did little to keep you warm. Your mattress was a wooden board, or maybe straw, or maybe nothing at all. You sit up slowly. Your back aches from yesterday's labor. Your feet are sore from hours of standing. You are already tired. But there is no space for slowness here. The ward matron or workhouse overseer walks the halls with clipped footsteps. There are no greetings, no kindness, just the command to rise, to wash, to line up. You move in silence, shoulder to shoulder with others just like you. The uniform does its job. You blend in. You vanish among the gray. Breakfast is the first ritual, but it is not a comfort, it is a process. You are given a bowl of gruel, watery, flavorless, sometimes gritty with undercooked oats. If there is bread, it is coarse and dry. If there is tea, it is weak and bitter. You eat it standing, no talking, eyes forward. Any noise brings reprimands, or worse, deductions and ration, and then comes the labor. If you are a man, you are sent to break stones. You are handed a hammer and a quota. The stones are cold. Your hands are blistered. You swing and swing and swing. There is no end, just the rhythm of your own breath, the dull ache in your shoulders, and the sound of rocks splintering into gravel. Some men are sent to pump water, to haul barrels, to work in the laundry, where steam scalds your arms and the smell of wet cloth never leaves your nose. Others are assigned to oakum picking. Oakum was the fiber pulled from old ropes used to caulk the seams of ships. You are given a pile of tarred rope, a metal spike, and told to separate the strands with your fingers. It is mind-numbing. The tar sticks to your skin, it stings. Your fingers bleed, and still you work. You do this for hours. Women scrub floors, men sheets, boil water, sew uniforms. They clean the very walls that confine them. They cook meals they will not eat. Younger girls are often put to work in the kitchens. Boys might be sent to stoke the furnace or haul coal. Everyone has a job, even children. And through it all, there is silence, or near to it. You may hear the cough of someone sick, the faint sob of someone who is new, the sharp voice of a warden correcting posture, punishing slowness, enforcing order, but never laughter, never comfort. The hours stretch long. There is no clock you can see, but you feel time in your body, in the soft cramping of your hands, the burn in your thighs, the hunger that begins to return just an hour after breakfast. You are allowed a short break for lunch. Another bowl, another ration. It is never enough. And then back to labor. By supper, your arms tremble. You chew without tasting. You cannot remember the faces of the people around you because everyone looks the same. After supper, there may be prayers, a short service, a reading from the Bible, something about humility, endurance, gratitude, and then back to the dormitory. You are not allowed to speak. You lie in your bed or what passes for one. You stare at the ceiling or at nothing. You remember a field you once walked through as a child, or the way your mother tucked your hair behind your ear, or the voice of someone who hasn't spoken your name in years. You try not to cry, because crying draws attention, and attention is dangerous, because the workhouse does not reward emotion. It rewards stillness, obedience, quiet compliance. You are not here to grow. You are not here to heal. You are here to be contained. And so you fall asleep, eventually, if you can, with your hands still aching, your stomach still hollow, and your sense of self just a little more distant than the day before. Tomorrow will be the same, and the next day, and the day after, because the daily grind of the workhouse was not just about survival, it was about surrender. And for many, that was the hardest part of all. What happens to your mind when the world decides you don't matter? What thoughts survive when even your name is taken from you, replaced with a uniform, a chore list, a schedule? This is the quietest part of the workhouse. Not a room, not a hall, not a dormitory, but the inside of a person. The internal life of the poor was not written down, not often, because no one asked them. But their silence wasn't empty. It was filled with memory. Imagine lying in your cot at night, listening to the creak of another board, shifting under someone's weight. You close your eyes, but you do not sleep yet. You see the lane outside your childhood home. You remember the smell of fresh bread, not from your own oven, but from a market stall you used to pass on the way to fetch water. You remember laughter, your mother's hand, the first time you saw snow, the way your dog used to curl at your feet, the feeling of Sunday mornings when you had nothing to do but breathe. All of this lives in you even now. Even when your fingernails are cracked, even when your skin smells like starch and stone, even when you haven't said your own name out loud in weeks, memory becomes a home, a secret room you carry with you. You open it quietly at night, or when your hands are busy and your eyes can wander. And in that room, you are still a person, not a pauper, not a body in a bed, not a mouth to feed, just you. And perhaps you also imagine, not just what was, but what might be. A letter arriving, a cousin remembering you, a day when you leave, when the gates open and your child runs toward you with arms wide. Maybe it is impossible, but you think it anyway, because imagination is not something they can take, not with rules, not with hunger, not even with silence. And what about dignity? It lives here too, in small places, in the way you fold your blanket, in the way you tie your hair with care, even if no one will see, in the way you help the person next to you, silently passing the butter crust of bread or offering a seat closer to the fire. These things are not nothing but resistance, because in the workhouse, the system was designed to flatten you, to make you compliant, predictable, passive, but the human mind resists. It dreams, it recalls. It finds patterns in the scratches on the wall, or names in the clouds seen through a barred window. Even in pain it builds, and though your hands may obey, your heart continues to wander. You may feel shame, deep, dark, endless shame, as if your hunger is a moral failure, as if poverty is proof of your flaws. But part of you knows the part that never stops watching that this isn't true. This is structure, the system, the power protecting itself. And you, despite it all, are still alive inside your mind. You still know the lyrics to that song. You still count the days by the cracks in the wall. You still remember what your sister wore the day she left. You still notice how the light changes in winter. And perhaps you still believe in something. Not loudly, not even with words, but you hold it. Like a coal in the dark, because the inner life of the forgotten isn't empty. It is rich, quietly, powerfully, stubbornly alive, even here, even now, even in a place that was never meant to hold hope. The workhouse is long gone. Its bricks have crumbled, its records faded, its beds empty. The walls that once rang with footsteps and the clatter of bowls now sit silent, or have been repurposed into quiet libraries or housing blocks, the past tucked behind clean paint and sealed windows. But the story doesn't end there, because the workhouse never truly disappeared. Not entirely. It changed shape. Its memory lives in the way we treat the vulnerable, the way we speak about poverty, the way we judge those who struggle, silently assuming that misfortune is a flaw rather than a fact of life. And if we look closely, we see echoes of it everywhere. In the cold indifference of bureaucracy, in the slow erosion of dignity, in the systems that confuse punishment for support. But tonight, we've chosen not to look away. You walked those halls. You felt the scratch of the uniform, the weight of the labor, the silence of the mind trying to survive. You saw how easily a person can be reduced. And you saw how quietly, defiantly, they hold on to what makes them human. This is not just a story about the past. It is a meditation on empathy, A reminder that those who appear quiet, broken, or invisible aren't. Not really. They are watching, remembering, imagining, resisting, just like you. So as you lie still now, in the comfort of your bed, the softness of your pillow, the warmth of a world that will not punish you for being tired, let the contrast settle in, not as guilt, but as gratitude, because you are free, and the best way to honor those who are not is to never forget them. Until next time, good night and sleep well.